I thought I had something here. I guess I don't. Whatever. What's up, guys? During my journey as a photographer, I learned a lot of bad things and I learned a lot of good things. But over the years, there's something very, very specific that I teach myself, that I learn daily, constantly, and that has been the biggest change and the biggest addition to me as a photographer that will help you set yourself apart. But it has changed my view, my thinking as a photographer forever. What is it? Let's get into it. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Brandon Cole, and we are going to get into something that I think is super important to becoming an amazing photographer. Now, I know a lot of times photographers, we get so caught up in like learning our camera equipment. You know how things work, with your lenses, your flash. You're ready to go out there and you're ready to, go in the studio and you're ready to take some amazing pictures, right? But somewhere along the line, we tend to forget how important learning one of these key aspects to photography, the other side of the coin, that is modeling. It is extremely important to becoming a great photographer. But why? Why is learning modeling, studying modeling so important to what we do as photographers? Here are my top 3 reasons why it is extremely important, you hear me? Imperative that we learn both sides of the coin. Understanding modeling and a lot of things that comes with it. Okay, number 1, speaking and interpreting the language of a model comes easier to you when you study it and you understand the job of a model. You understand that? Let me break it down for you. Understanding the terminology that we use like on set, like this needs to be more soft. This area needs to be more hard. You're giving me kind of blank right now. I need a little bit more of an editorial look. I need more commercial. Give me more of a 3/4 shot. Bring your shoulders forward. Part your lips slightly. Tilt your head slightly. A bit more sultry. Things like that. Smile with your eyes. When you really dive into modeling, and I mean really like connect with the terminologies, it literally has to become like another language to you. It would allow you to really dial in and speak to models on their level, and not like that level of a photographer where you're talking to your model and they kind of really like don't really know what to understand or know what you mean. You start to sound like you know what you're talking about, like you've been here before, and in that sense, models really start to trust you. They start to feel a little bit more social, a little bit more security with you, like they really have like a professional on their hands. And in that case, what do? They pay more money. They come back for more photo shoots to help expand their portfolio, a lot of different things. So understanding what you're talking about, how to speak to a model, understanding how to interact, how to interpret exactly what you mean, what you need the model to do is valuable. But you don't understand that. You won't get to that point unless you actually study and understand modeling, so you can speak and so you can interpret what you are trying to, your vision. You got to interpret your vision. You got to give them exactly what you visualize, and then you have to interpret it to them so they can understand what you want them to do. All right? So that's my number 1. Number 2 is the creative direction. When you really start, again, to understand modeling, you will get more creative with your photo shoots. You get more creative with your direction. Now, you develop like a sixth sense for when you're putting your shoot together. When it comes to your wardrobe, not your wardrobe, when it comes to the model's wardrobe, the location, the posing. I did a YouTube live a few days ago, and a photographer asked me, he said, do I still get nervous when I do photo shoots? Nervous is, you don't want to show nerves, because if you're nervous and that's going to kind of tell the model that you don't know what, just you're kind of going to give that impression to the model that you don't know what you're doing. All right. And you don't want that. You want to go into there confident. All right. You want to go into there knowing what you're talking about. You need to have a game plan. A lot of times, if you're nervous when you go to a photo shoot, you haven't planned properly. And I was like, no, actually, no, I don't. I don't get nervous at all. I actually love a challenge, and I love working with, honestly, I love working with first time models because, you know, it still gives you that sense of a challenge. Unlike shooting with like my normal models who I shoot with like all the time, who know me and they know exactly what I expect of them. But shooting with a new model who I've never shot with before, that's a challenge in itself, especially if they never shot with like a flash photographer. A lot of times when photographers get nervous is because they don't have a plan. They're not prepared. Every time you go into a photo shoot, you should know exactly what your plan is. You should have a plan. That's where the creative direction comes in. You should have already established a connection with your model. You should already have went over wardrobe. By that time, you're looking for the location. You know exactly what your model, her look is. You know what she's going to wear, your location. And then from there, you start putting together your posing. But when you don't go into a photo shoot with a plan, it puts a hindrance on everything else. You need to do all that in order to bring your theme and bring everything to life. Picking a location or even backdrops if you're shooting in a studio. You start to become more picky with what you do. When you really tap into your creative direction, start to understand modeling and what you want your models to do and wear and look and a lot of different things, how you want makeup even, you start to get more picky. You start to develop a more creative direction in your shooting. But in order to get to that point, you have to understand modeling. But that brings me to my third one, and this is kind of the more lengthy one. And I know this is probably the one that everybody has been waiting for because it's probably the most important of all, and that is posing. Let me tell you, when you understand and study modeling and you study posing, your photo shoots become a lot more smooth. The only way to really get better at posing is to actually study posing and modeling and repetition, honestly. That's the best way to get better at posing. Understanding posing is just as important as understanding your camera. As much as you learn about your camera, about your aperture, about your ISO, your shutter speeds, and exposure triangle, and inverse square, as much time and effort as you put into learning them things, that is how much time and effort should be put into learning modeling and posing. The other side of the coin. The same way we Google and we look up YouTube videos about cameras and settings and everything else. That is the same thing I was doing when I was looking at posing and modeling and expression and character and a lot of different things. I was looking at the Tyra Bankses and the Naomi Campbells and all these things in order to really understand what it meant to be a model in posing. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into something else because this also becomes more valuable and imperative, especially if you are a flash photographer. Now, why is modeling and posing so important if you shoot flash? Oh, let me tell you. Why is that? It's because when models shoot with a photographer like myself or anyone who uses flash or has a flash, that means that their posing, their direction, everything has to be manipulated in order to be exposed properly with light. Now, unlike natural light photographers who have like the whole entire outside and they have all this available light, and a model has the ability to move around much more in the middle of a street or something and not be restricted to like a single light source. So their posing is not so restricted, but makes posing even more important for flash photographers, especially on location. I mean, truly, think about it. We have to connect with the model, like survey the location that we're shooting in, fight to overpower the sun so that like only our artificial light that we're shooting with matters, while simultaneously posing and working a model to keep them in this small box to ensure that they are not only properly lit, but also exposed, and also ensuring the poses that we're giving them are conducive to the shoot that we're trying to portray. With all that being said, posing and modeling is extremely important and imperative to becoming a better photographer, especially if you're a flash photographer. Understanding that other side of the coin, one of the best things that I could have ever taught myself and learned, and I'm still actually learning to this day. I love to get better and better and better. I love posing and I love expressions. I love the things. I love editorials, but there's always room for improvement. But I definitely feel that, and there's a lot of other things, trust me, to becoming a better photographer and bettering yourself as a photographer. But when you go to a shoot and you control the shoot, you control everything that's happening, it just changes the game. It changes the game for you. It makes you put more money in your pocket. It's extremely important to learn that other side of the coin. Before I go, I wanted to give you an example of somebody who took this and ran with it. Tyra Banks. Do you remember on the show, like America's Next Top Model, when Tyra, she was judging and everything? But as of, everybody knows Tyra as an amazing model. I mean, world-class model, right? But after a while, Tyra Banks also became a photographer.
Head, we call that modeling H2T, head to toe.
So I'll be shooting you riding close.
Okay, ready?
Sweet little Laura. She's on set, she's lounging, body's looking good, beautiful eye penetration. But the lips, it's almost like she has a weight hanging on it like this.
So on the show, she started doing a lot of photo shoots of her models because she wanted to learn that other side of the coin. And once she started shooting, she started really understanding why directors and why photographers asked her to do some of the things that she was asked to do. Like, you know, you're not giving me all the face, or you're not posing from head to toe, or, you know, she explained that in great detail. And she said, I never knew what it was like. And as a photographer, now seeing and now asking the models to do certain things, she completely understands it. And it made her even more creative, like a director, a model of everything, because she was able to visit that other side of the coin. And now she understands it. It's the same with photographers. Understand and start studying and learning that other side of the coin to make you a better photographer. That is my woo for today, and I will see you in the next video.